If you're new to leathercraft, or maybe even if you've been around for a little while, you might have some questions about beveling. And one of them being, should you use a smooth bevel or a checkered bevel? Today, that's what we're going to talk about. That's coming up. Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Reese. This is Weaver Leather Supply. Today, we're going to be taking a look at smooth versus checkered bevels and when you should use it. I have that question pop up ever so often, and today that's what we're going to be talking about. And to do that, we're going to take a look at three different questions. The first one is going to be, do you have imperfections in your beveling that you might need to hide a little bit? So as far as smooth or checkered in regards to hiding imperfections in your bevel, the first thing that I want to say is that this is not a miracle technique. You still have to know how to use a bevel. If you've got minor little chatter marks in there, this is going to help. But if you got some pretty heavy chatter marks, you definitely want to go back and look at the techniques and really focus on that before this is going to help. But if we're talking about some pretty minor chatter marks in your beveling, then this could easily go one of two directions. If we're talking about the checkered bevel, well, because it has texture to it, it's naturally gonna hide some of those imperfections. It's kind of like hiding a tree in the forest. You know, it kind of blends into that white noise, and like I said, it just kind of blends in a little bit. Now, this could go either way, because we could go with a smooth bevel. It's not naturally going to hide the imperfections, but you can go back with either a modeling spoon or the bevel itself and smooth them out to a certain extent. So really, it's going to come down to which one of these two is more efficient at helping you hide those very, very minor mistakes in your beveling. But again, the best solution is just to focus on your techniques and really perfect that so you don't have anything to hide. So the next question is going to be, do you want the bevel to hold color? And here's what I mean by that. Most of the time, we're going to end up antiquing our project. And if we're using a smooth bevel, well, the smooth bevel really just compresses and bevels the leather. It doesn't add any texture to it. It creates almost like a glass-like surface. And because it's so smooth, it's really not going to hold much antique at all. And sometimes that's what we want. Other times we want the bevel to hold that color so that it can really define the highlights and the lowlights. Sometimes we want it smooth. We want that antique to wipe out so that we're really not pulling the eye to that area. Other times we're going to want to use a checkered bevel. And the reason we're going to want to do that is because we want it to hold color. If you're, beveling around the outside of a vine, that would be a fantastic area to have that texture in there so that when you put the antique on it, it holds some of it instead of letting all of it wipe off. That's going to create shadows and lowlights, and sometimes that's exactly what we're looking for. And the last question that we're going to be asking is, are you trying to create shadows or are you simply trying to compress and bevel the leather? Now, there's certain situations where we want shadows. One of those examples would be in floral carving where we have one vine that's overlapping another vine. The one that's on top would naturally cast a shadow on the one below it. That again is going to help us create that illusion of depth. Other scenarios, we don't really want that shadow in there. To illustrate how this works, I carved a floral piece just specifically for this. I did half of it with a smooth bevel and half of it with a checkered bevel. Now, one thing I'll mention before I show it to you, on camera, the difference is very, very subtle, but in person, it's very obvious which one has the texture and which one doesn't. Let's take a look at that real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, it doesn't show up on camera as well as it does in person, but if you look at the petals of the flower, this one right here was done with a smooth bevel and this one with a checkered. The ones marked in blue, they're all checkered. The ones marked in red are all smooth. Shadows and highlights are what create the illusion of depth. So if you've got one thing on top of another, it probably should be casting a shadow, and bevels are a great way to do that. That's going to do it for this video. I will see you in the next one. In the meantime, go make something amazing.